Like, this is where I wish I went to school to be like a technician with like, all of this technology, and we'll have Zoom stuff and comments and then Facebook comments, and it's like, it's
Right.
a real thing. Oh, okay. I see us. Hold tight.
I mean, I think we're going to come out of this in a much, better place.
Oh yeah. We will absolutely know more than we know now when it comes to.
I love your background, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I the other day I performed comedy actually, and my backdrop was like a spotlight, like a brick wall and a spotlight. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, can I go look for a nice background too?
Yeah. I actually got some material if anybody wants to see what's going on, why don't I just turn this off so you could like legit see what's going on behind me. I'll show you a little bit behind the scenes, and I just hope I can, like, that's the screen, right?
Yeah.
This is where the magic happens.
Oh, I love it.
So you can see, like, I've got windows, they're letting in light, there's the kitchen, like, and all day, every day.
Yeah. All right. Well, wait a second. Wait till you see what I got going on here.
Hold on. I gotta put mine back on. Okay, there you go. I want people to think I live in the beautifully, neat home.
Right. Right. Me too.
Right. So we've got a couple of participants. Oh, there you go. We've got a couple of viewers now. I see like a lag on Facebook.
Really. You see where I'm at?
Yes. Yeah. You're like, yeah. And you got a lot of light on you too.
Yep.
That's the hard part.
I gotta shine it in.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to start like, doing this in the middle of the night. Then I won't have to deal with the light. I can do it where I want.
Right.
So, all right. So we've got about 5 people on Facebook. We got a couple people on Zoom. So welcome everybody. We are here. I am here with my dear friend, Noah Rosenblatt. Noah, welcome to Karen's Corner.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining me. So Noah and I go back, I guess it's probably about 12 years. You're probably one of the very first people I met when I got into real estate. And Noah is like, so he, a little bit of background. He was an agent, so he understands how we as agents think, what our clients expect, and the stats that we want to provide for our clients. And so what we're doing here today is, and now he runs, he founded a website called UrbanDigs, which is, it's like, we in New York City, let's just be real, we don't have an MLS. So getting any accurate stats is incredibly hard. And Noah and his partner, John Walkup, who I don't know if John will tune in here, but we'd love to see John. But they together have created this amazing website. It's incredibly robust with stats of everything from active listings, days on market, discounts to days on market, to even a website that pulls listings from our RLS, which is, I don't know why I do this, but it's our MLS. It is real, right? So today I just wanted to talk, it's Monday, it's the end of the quarter, just ended. And obviously all these new market reports have been coming out. And in the few that I've reviewed, they say nothing about what happened as of whatever day you want to call it, whether it's March 11th, March 3rd, whatever day. We've been in quarantine. We're at the start of week 4 now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so Noah, what would you like to add to kind of kick off the show?
Well, look, first a little bit about me. I used to be a trader back in my past life. And I got into real estate in 2005, and that was the credit crisis. So I kind of, we stemmed right from the credit crisis, which was supposed to be like a once in a generation type thing, is what we were sold. they lied. Somebody lied.
Yeah, they lied. We're the fools now.
But here we are, and 10 years later, and I guess this is what we got to, look forward to, is that we are in a boom and bust cycle type of system here. And I guess here's the bust, but it was caused by this crazy virus. So here we are. And look, the quarterly report came out just a couple of days ago. And it was starting to reflect the quarter to quarter improvement that we were having.
Yeah, so January and February, we were doing pretty well.
Even further back, November, it started like in November, people started telling me. It started in October, but not enough to kind of see it really rise, relative to prior years. It really started in November, December, January, and February were good. And I think all those sales are now going to be filtering through. Even if you signed a contract the first week of March, I don't think you're pricing in what we're seeing right now. I think that the last couple of weeks, March 22nd is the day, that we kind of shut down.
Okay.
So what are we? We're just over 2 weeks into the technical pause. See, look, I do it too.
I know, right?
And look, it's here's the problem. The problem is that we're going to be in a low volume environment. So like we had a couple of good weeks of contracts signed the last few weeks. We looked at it and it wasn't so bad. Like it was going down, but there was some residual deals, clearly some residual deals that were in negotiations and the apartments were viewed a few weeks prior. And for whatever reason, they got the deals together, so that kind of trickled through. So now we're really going into that point where it's like, all right, let's just see how many new deals are really happening in this new reality. So this is really going to be like, the first week that we're getting no residuals probably. I think if there are any residuals, it's already filtered through or it fell apart if it was going to fall apart, unfortunately.
And even if they go into contract, for those people who don't know, in New York, so if something goes into contract now, we know is the strike price. So what the price was where that struck up an offer, and obviously we won't know what it sold for potentially 3 to 4 months from now. Co-ops are 3 to 4 months. Yeah, maybe longer, especially now. I mean, hopefully less time. I mean, I am praying that this makes our systems a lot more efficient. I've been anecdotally through my office, we've been talking about board interviews that are happening over Skype. One interview even on Park Avenue where they approve them before even reviewing the entire board package. So, I mean, hopefully this will make us a little bit more efficient. But yeah, so 3 to 4 months, then it'll close. Then it'll be how long? Like another month or two before
usually
it's even recorded.
It depends. 2 weeks, 2 or 3 months. I mean, if for whatever reason that filing gets dragged out, I mean, again, we see filings come in, 6, 7, 8 weeks later, 9 weeks later, up to.
So we might not even see what's going on now reflected for potentially 5 months.
No, so we're telling people that you're going to get price discovery on this unless you're privy to the transaction, right? And I try to talk to as many brokers as possible to get anecdotal evidence on that kind of thing. And I'm hearing anywhere between 5 and 25% right now. So
reduction.
I'm being like, so I asked a question. You kind of knew where the market was before this whole hit. We were down. We're not saying the market was up. We were down. It was a 5-year kind of downturn. We were coming back. We were coming back from that downturn, so we're kind of coming back. And then this hit. So I asked these people, like, where do you think we are, where those bids are coming in from that point? And most of them are telling me about 5% lower to 25% lower, depending on the price points that you're in. And obviously, that 25% low is probably the higher price points. But I wouldn't be surprised of having an $800,000 property and someone's bidding, I don't know, $650 for it.
Yeah.
Or $700 for it.
Last week we heard of one that they got an accepted offer at $5 million, and by the time the contract was signed, they had negotiated down to 4.1.
Yeah, and these are the kind of times when stuff like that happens. So you're going to have a thinly traded market. So we're in this dislocation right now.
I love that word.
It's a temporary dislocation. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of stimulus behind all of this that's being put in. I think there's going to be more stimulus. I think there's going to be a couple of more $1 trillion packages coming out at the end of the day. We just saw phase 1 of it. I think there'll be phase 2 and 3, in the months and years to go to keep this thing going. They're fighting deflation kind of thing. So at the end of the day, the dislocation is really just that peak fear. I mean, I got to be honest with you. If the stock market keeps doing what it did today, the stock market was up 8% today, almost 8%. And it's, everyone knows this is like a stimulus-induced rally. But let's say turns out to not be as bad as everyone thinks. Let's say there's like an unpredictable event here, just as unpredictable as the virus, right? What if there's a treatment vaccine? What if there's not the vaccine, but a treatment, right? And people stop dying, right? And all of a sudden, like they can now have cure, all this kind of stuff, not cure, but help people. These are the kind of things that nobody knows again. I know that a lot of amazing scientists from around the world are all over on top of this thing. They're all over this thing. So You never know. And if this continues a little longer, this dislocation, that fear level, I mean, we may have seen the worst of it in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
For all we know.
Right. So people, I guess the long and short of it is, what, like, if you're in the market today looking to buy or sell, don't expect that market to be the same next week. Right. Like,
it's just it's a fluid situation. It's a dynamic situation. It's fear levels are spiking and it's very volatile. Right. And 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, when the stock market was at the abyss, you know, it was very scary. The lockdown happened. We were seeing lows. No one knew how bad this was going to go. You know, deals signed in that period and that period soon thereafter, that, you know, was 8 days ago or 7 days ago before this rally, is probably going to reflect a different dislocation than you're going to see deals signed today. It's like one of those crazy volatile situations, but it's a dislocated, thinly traded market. So like you're seeing less of everything. The only thing that's rising is off market. So you're seeing less inventory, you're seeing less demand, right? Everything's falling, but supply is falling faster than demand's falling. So they're both falling, but supply is falling faster. So at the end of the day, buyers, you think about buyers out there, they're like, yes, this is my time. I'm going to get 25, 30% off everything. It doesn't work that way. So now they're going on the market looking. There's less stuff because not a lot of stuff is coming on. This is usually when stuff comes on, and not a lot of stuff's coming on. A lot
this
less.
This time of year, we're talking.
Yeah, this is when stuff comes on. Like 1,800 units come on the market now. We saw 925. Okay. Next in April, we're supposed to see 2,000. How many units come on? Like 500, 700? I mean, we don't know. We got to wait till we get to the end of April, but not a lot. So you're seeing less inventory. And not only that, I talk about this often on my videos, is this is the key. This is the key part, is in a thinly traded market, only those sellers that have to sell are doing the trades. So only those people are hitting the bids, because the bids aren't goosed right now. The bids are down. They're opportunistic bids. They're buyers that want to price this craziness in. So if they're putting in bids down 20, 25% or 15%, most sellers are just not even going to respond to that.
No.
So that's from a buyer's perspective, you got less inventory, and you got less of that inventory. You got less sellers that are probably going to be willing to entertain the bid that you're willing to put in at this time. So you can have a stalemate, and you can have a big spread, a big bid-ask spread, and volume is going to go down. And you're going to have this thinly dislocated market until something changes.
Yeah. Yeah. And we won't really know. So that's why, for those of us, and I know that you do a great job, and we have a couple of brokers tuning in now, and we'll have more later, but you're really relying on what we're telling you, right? Because you see the numbers, but we've got the stories, right? So yeah, I know
I got the RLS data, but it's only as I could only see supply trends. I could see pending sales trend. I could see contract signed. I could see inventory. I could see off market. I could see days. I could see all that stuff. I don't see where deals are happening at.
Right. Because
I mean, nobody knows where. There's no price discovery right now. We're in this illiquid vacuum, and of the deals that are happening, which, you know, and it's lower than usual, obviously, this time of year. But the deals that are happening, we don't know where those deals are happening unless you're privy to that transaction and you call that broker up, and that broker tells you where it's going on. From what I'm hearing, from talking to a bunch of different brokers, like 15 different brokers that have good business, the range is somewhere between 5% and 25%. Like if you could describe the dislocation in terms of where the bids are coming in and where deals are happening, if there's any deals happening, it's like between 5 and 25%. Which means the buyer's putting in a bid of 20, 25%. The seller maybe is going down 5, then he's coming up, and maybe they're doing something in the middle, for all I know. Yeah. And the only one that's hitting the bid down 20, 25 is that seller that's forced to liquidate. They probably got a more expensive property, a $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million property, got for $15 million property, and they have to hit that bid because they have a forced liquidation, or they want to get out. Like there are people that again, I own a $3 million place. You know, I bought it in the 80s or 90s, and it was inherited down. I got it. And now the bid's 2.6. Right. You know, do you hit it? Well, you know what? I'm ready. I want out. You know, you got those kind of people that they don't care. It's equity for them. So they don't see the loss that way, you know, and then you got those people that, you know, I'll only hit that bid if I absolutely have to. So. Yeah.
But we also have to remember that it's not just the price, right? Like on one of your podcasts, and this is how I kind of coach my clients to, like, let's prioritize what's important to you, right? So maybe that price, maybe you have to hit the price for the co-op board, but there are all different kinds of ways that we could work around any of the closing costs, right? So
Yeah.
really, how do you prioritize, you as a buyer, what you want, you as a seller? You've got taxes, you've got, since they changed all the mansion tax and the transfer tax last year, like that's important. Like I just closed a deal at 1,999, and everybody was very strategic with that number. It was listed at 2.1, and we closed at 1,999
Right.
for, so that they wouldn't have to pay the taxes. So I think for any buyers who are out there watching, like it's not just the price. And I know that that's hard for you to calculate, right, to factor in there, but there are a lot of ways to get creative with these deals.
Well, Jackie Teplitsky, I think, was the one that was saying it, and she was basically saying is you got to talk to your buyers and talk to the buyers, right? Whether you're a client or whatever, if they're a direct, whatever, talk to your buyers, and you got to find out what is preventing you from going forward here. Like, what is the problem here? And if it's something that's a fixable problem, like you said, the maintenance is a little too high. Well, could we put 2 years of a little cushion in there above the average? What's $1,000 too much? What if I put $24,000 in there and we cover the difference between the average and the area? Or what if we cover some closing costs? Or what if we give you a renovation credit? Who knows? Who knows what kind of thing, right? These are all the things that she's saying. What is it about this? I don't like this work. Well, can we work something out?
I wonder, you just got me thinking about maintenance, and maintenance includes, for those of you who don't know, the maintenance for a co-op is the HOA, if you will, which includes the underlying mortgage for the building, the taxes for the building, and then the overall maintenance of the
everything
of the building, all wrapped in one. But the taxes are based on the assessed values of the rental buildings, right? And now, like, I mean, the
I don't know how they do those numbers.
The long-term impacts of this, not only with the rent regulations that were just passed a few months ago, but I mean, it's almost like, is recalibration the right word? Like everybody's going to kind of have to figure out, where do we stand, other than the underlying cost of the building, right, and the mortgage.
The last 5 years, right, like from 2015 to 2000, and I kind of thought the bottom was mid to Q3 of 2019, last year, right? And before we started getting picked, like October, November, December, January, February, we talked about that earlier, how we were picking up. So I think the worst was, it was right after those regulations that you talked about were enacted in mid last year, and in the few months thereafter. I think that was kind of like the peak of buy side, leverage kind of thing.
And now we're probably going to be waiting.
Well, I think I think that was a recent. I think that 2015 to 2019, excuse me, was a policy-driven recalibration, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
This is totally different. This is like, all right. Besides being crazy, unprecedented. I mean, when was the last time we're all on lockdown?
The whole world.
And I mean, it's just crazy. It's scary. It's sad. There's so many things that are just so. I hate about this whole thing, right? And the unknown, we're in that unknown right now. And it's like, we want to cling to as much optimism as we possibly can, so we can get back to the way we were living our life beforehand. But it may be phases. So I think this is one of those things where it's like, all right, this is a shock. It's a complete shock. It's just like, how long is that dislocation? But again, I don't think there's going to be many trades at that dislocation. So when we get out of this whole thing, right, and we bounce back, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a V or like a small U or something. We are going to bounce back because there's so much stimulus.
Yeah, I'm reading a lot with all the different analysts and economists that I'm reading. I think JP Morgan, they're all predicting this V, right? Like,
I mean, it's just
down deep.
But are you going to fight it? I mean, again, there's a couple of ways this can go. Right? This is like trader talk kind of thing, right? One theory, there's like three main theories. One theory is that we're going to have a complete melt up from this point forward, and that we're in it right now. Like we're 1 week into the melt up meaning we're just going to fly, right? And we're going to go to highs that were before, we haven't even seen, like S&P 4,000 kind of thing. Like it's just going to shoot straight up. And there's a lot of people that think about this, and it's going to happen in like a short period of time.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be stimulus driven because everyone's putting all the stimulus in it. And then if we get out of it, if the virus turns out to be not as bad, or we have a treatment or something good happens, and we start getting back to it, then it's just going to come back roaring, like kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, everything's going to get destroyed, right? So
Right.
that's story number one. Story number two is like, all right, here we are. For the next 3 to 6 months, it's going to be a little ugly. Like businesses are going to default. We're going to wake up to headlines that there's rising numbers. The stock market's going to go up and down and up and down, up and down. And it's going to probably go down more. We may even retest the lows. Like 2008. Remember 2008? 2008, Lehman Brothers failed. 2009 was the lows. 6 months later was the lows.
Yeah.
And then we started a 10-year plus run that took us up into the highs. And that was all by Goose, liquid. It was all by all the stimulus and everything they did. This time we had a credit event, like we had a credit craziness, right? Same thing is there, much, much deeper. It was like an everything bubble. Whereas last time it was a Wall Street mortgage bubble. This was an everything bubble, and it was credit crazy everywhere. It was just nuts. I mean, I talked about it at Rebney January 30th, how goose this market is, and it scares the crap out of me. I didn't see this coming. No one saw this coming.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And that popped, and here we are. It's just.
Well, the reality is we knew that things were going to shift, but I don't think anybody knew that this was going to be why.
I think we're going to come out of it. And there's a ton of stimulus out of it. And the third story, which I was going to end the whole thing, is that everything's a bunker. Everything's just going to hell. And you got to get your guns, and you got to get your gold, and you got to get your Kansas soup. And of course, I'm like somewhere. I'm in the middle, obviously, right? I'm not on either end of the extreme. And I think it's gonna be volatile the next couple of months. But then I think we're gonna have this resurgence.
Yeah, we're hearing about a lot of pent up demand. I mean, it's obvious, right? Like sellers can't sell because buildings won't let the brokers in to show. Yes, I do believe that we could still get around that through video, even if the seller has to film a video, as long as management companies and all the essential people are there, which we are now deemed essential. And I know that we're fighting that right now for a variety of reasons, which we won't have to go into. But as long as those people are working, these deals can still happen. But there are still buyers out there who are going to say, I don't want to buy an apartment based on a video or based on photos. And, and so we're all predicting that there is going to be this push, this rush to, I want to sell. I mean, think about this, like Manhattanites, especially, you're in a small space. Like I personally had to leave the city, because I was on a top floor and I knew I would get into an elevator with somebody, right? And now I'm personally thinking, like, how long can I live in this small space? Like that space was not deemed safe to me personally, right? But imagine all those people now who are just questioning, do I really want to stay here? Is this really worth it? And so what that will do, I mean, we could be seeing a whole lot more inventory. And I think it's just going to be people shuffling, right? Like people shuffling in and out of the state. In fact, I just met a couple yesterday who they're staying in Cape May, and they said, yeah, we're based in Brooklyn and we're out of here. Like we're out of Brooklyn, we're moving to Cape May. So things like that, I think people are going to shuffle. But
and this is what happened after 9/11. And this is like a mad child of 9/11 and the credit crisis. I kind of look at it that way, except the credit crisis was focused on one area and this was everything, But the 9/11, we had a period of shutdown. It was not like this, but it was the last thing I can remember where everyone had fear and everyone was shut down and everyone was kind of hunkered down and work stopped for a little while and planes stopped for a little while. And everything stopped for a little while, right? But that was so different. That was like in a matter of months, we were back to normal. There was fear in the air. Like it took a year to get back. It took a year after 9/11 to get back to where we were beforehand.
And that was an insulated, like that was one day.
That was one day. But it had like ripple effects. It was a big earthquake, right? And then it had like, because I remember, because I signed the contract in October 2001. So I'm one of those people. Now, I didn't know the market was going to go do its thing. All I knew is that, you know what? I've been wanting to buy Manhattan real estate. I couldn't find a good property. I couldn't find a good deal. And then all of a sudden, a good property and a good deal showed up. It just happened to be at a time when I was like, I don't want to pull the trigger right now. Like, it's just so scary out there. And every week was a new building. I remember it vividly. Every week was a new building being evacuated at that time. And I signed the contract. It was actually a bidding war for this contract. It was a below bidding war. So it was like, it was asking 500 or something like that, I believe. And the bids were at like at 450 and then 460. There was like 3 people bidding it, and it ultimately got up to 500. Like, so the bids weren't over the ask. It was just like under the ask. And then they had to do a best and final, and the bid kind of got right at the ask. It was, and I won it. I won the bidding.
But that was a month later.
This was October 2001.
Yeah. So barely a month later.
I couldn't get a loan. It was April. And again, someone wanted me to talk about this. I'm getting Bruce Robertson.
Please.
Robinson, my friends, to talk about this. Yeah. Banks are now hesitant to lend.
Yeah. Well, because so many are defaulting right now, right?
Right. And I think the idea is the same thing happened back in 2008, like in 2009. What happened is that credit kind of contracted, and the balance sheets of the banks got a little tighter, and everything was worth less, and they had less leverage, and they couldn't extend the credit that they wanted to. That was one. And number two is they probably didn't want to, because we don't want to extend credit when there's a deflationary, kind of shock going through, and there's worse credit borrowers because they're not working that again. But who knows? Unemployment's going up and all the kind of, this is what the banks kind of think. Same thing happened in 2008 and 2009. So now it's starting to happen again. The only thing that's different is back then, banks were writing down tens of billions of dollars in markdowns from their mortgage-backed securities holdings. We haven't even had any of that kind of stuff yet.
So that's a very good point, where a lot of people might, especially in a certain generation, they might be feeling like, or is this going to be like 2008, 2009? We're going into this, or we are in this with a much stronger housing market. In most markets, they actually don't have enough inventory. But the last crash was due to the housing. The credit crisis that happened in 2008, it killed especially us, because we were a Wall Street generated housing market. Yeah. So in that sense, that was a big shock to our housing market, because all that Wall Street business just all of a sudden, besides dragging everything home, this is just like an everything thing. Yeah.
That's the difference here. This is like an everything kind of credit bubble that kind of bursts on so many different levels. And so we just don't know what we're going to look like at the end. The hope is here is that there's so much stimulus that we can get through, that could bridge to get through the other side. Like, again, where are we in 3 months? How many restaurants could survive?
Yeah.
Like, again, we're putting aside the health side. That's obviously most important. Let's look at the other side. Is how many restaurants are going to survive? How many mom and pop shops are going to survive? How many people are going to have their jobs when they come out of this kind of thing? Are we really going to be stronger because this thing shouldn't have happened to us? And it was no one's fault, and whatever, it shouldn't have happened to us. And now we kind of have to make good companies that were before that wouldn't have went under. They should be allowed to kind of get a bridge to get that. Like, that's the kind of logic, I guess, behind this. And it extends, to everything. Everyone where you go shopping every day.
I read something yesterday, like the minute that the sports, like the NFL or whatever sports you want is back, like, you've got all those workers, you've got all those vendors, you've got the food that's getting it there, you've got the truck, the trucks, the people that are working at the stadium, everything. Like, that is one of the biggest indicators that, like, we're back to whatever.
Yeah, and I was talking about it on Twitter, and here's the problem. The problem is, like, that may not happen until we have a vaccine. That's what they're kind of saying.
Which they're saying is 18 months or so.
The vaccine is a year, like, right. So we have to wait for a year, unless there's like a treatment in the meantime and people stop dying from this thing. And they can stop people from dying and going into this respiratory distress and all these crazy stories.
And the tiger just got it. So, or tested positive.
It sounds like this is like, it's the unknown, right? It's the fear of the unknown. Like, we just don't know what the hell this thing is and how bad it could get or whatever. And they're throwing a ton of stimulus at it to try to help everyone get through it. So we're in this unprecedented dislocation as we speak. It's like inning 3. We used to talk about inning 2, maybe inning 4 now, because we're a few weeks into it. But we don't know if it's going to be a 9-inning game or a 12-inning game.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you think? We don't know. I don't want you to make predictions here, but so why don't we talk some numbers here? Because again, people might be reading some market updates, recaps, and I think that so Noah's going to be sharing his screen with us.
I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah. So this is UrbanDigs. This is Noah's baby that he's been building now. How many years is it? Like eight?
I had a lot of hair when I started building this thing. I just look at it that way.
Best joke ever.
2005 is when I started UrbanDigs.
2005. So 15 years now. So for anybody who's let me just give a little bit of backstory here. So
Sure.
this is if anybody, so that what we're looking at now is overall market. It's mostly just Manhattan. You do cover parts of Brooklyn, right?
I do, but I don't have Brooklyn MLS plugged in yet. I will have Brooklyn
That's
MLS
okay.
plugged in soon. So the Brooklyn is only sales charts because I have all the sales data.
Okay.
This will be expanded by the end of the year.
Okay, so we're mainly talking Manhattan now. These numbers include everything from active, what's no longer active. So those those are things that are taken off the market, whether it's expired or they just weren't updated in a certain amount of time. So if anybody watching wants specific data for your neighborhood, even for your building, this is how granular we can actually get on this site. So this is one of my favorite pages for which is the charts room, where Noah will be walking us through. One thing to note about how we're walking through this, and I'm sure you will, but some of these numbers are updated every day. As you can see, the supply, the pending sales, that market. I can't read it. What's the market snapshot? Those are all as of yesterday, but a lot of the market pulse. But a lot of these other ones, there's a lag, about a 3-month lag. So 2-month lag. So your price per square foot, that's from January. So again, we just simply say that because they don't get recorded for a few months, and Noah and his team, they want to make sure they have only the most accurate information. So maybe, a couple of weeks from now, like he'll have, stats from March 1st, maybe, right? But only maybe 50%. So that's why he doesn't release it until he's got the majority of the.
It's not filled up completely yet.
Yeah. I could give your presentation now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This makes it nice and easy for me. Yeah, I'll just sit down here and just try to look good,
Yeah, there you go. All right. So why don't you walk us through this a little bit?
So listen, so this is the big story right here. Okay. And market pulse is usually my barometer and leverage I teach. So as it rises, the market's getting stronger and leverage is going to sellers. And as it falls, the market's getting weaker and leverage is going to buyers. So that's pretty much what everyone wants to know at the end of the day is which way we're going. It's a function of supply and demand, right? These two numbers. The thing is, the reason why this is rising is because supply is falling so fast. So again, you're having that distortion where supply is falling faster than pending sales. And that's actually fooling the market pulse into thinking it's a better market, when in reality, it's not a better market. We're having a dislocation and there's just less inventory. So let me just show you how I know that. I scroll down and I go to my monthly new supply, right? And I like this chart because it compares the month of March to previous months of March. So what I do is I go to the 3-year button right over here, click on this 3-year tab, and then I'm going to scroll right down to the month of March, and I could see March 2017, March 2018, March 2019. And it's showing me 1,792, 1787, 1768. So I could see there's just under 1,800 listings that come on the market in March. That's what we're used to seeing. This March that ended, we had 924. So that's where I'm getting this information. So I can tell you that we had a 50% deduction, 45% deduction in that. So what do we expect next month? So I just go to April and I could see 2,200, 2,078, 1,801. So I could say, all right, a little over 2,000. April and May are those 2 months when we're getting 1,900, 2,000 listings on the market. How many are we going to get? Right?
You want to make a guess?
I could tell you. So I can go to my dashboard. Okay.
Oh, you're cheating, but it's only the 6.
Because this is why I can make good predictions, because I actually look at the actual data and I can see what's going on. It's great. So
for anybody watching, make a guess. I know Noah's going to get.
All right, so I'll do this. April 1st to April 6th. How many new listings came on the market? What's your guess?
April 1st.
Now, 1 second. So it's been 6 days. So we're almost at a week, right? So we usually get 2,000. So I guess every week is going to be about what, 500?
Yeah.
And we're at day 6 of 7 days. So we should be at like 420, 440, 420 or something. So
cut that in half. That's 2, but I'm going to guess somewhere around 150.
Okay. I'm going to guess like 80.
80. Okay. Whew.
56.
56. Oh, okay. This is
56.
why you do
So,
what you do.
so, and I actually didn't even look at that. So now, I mean, I would have guessed 56.
Uh-huh.
And I would have lied or tried to lie and tell you I didn't look. So this is what I'm talking about. So now I'm going to go back to charts, right? And we usually see 500 a week.
So if
come
we're
on the
seeing
market.
56 a week on average, we should see 200 for the month.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's or 240. If we're at 60, we're at
Something,
240.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that means you're down 80, 90%. So now you look at supply. So I'm going to supply right here, and let me just show you what I'm talking about. So now I'm on supply, and I'm going to click on 3 years. Again, I like the 3-year look, right?
Yeah.
And let's just think about where we are, right? So where we were in March, now we're in April, right? March, April, May. We have an active season, March, April, May, June. We usually see a lot of stuff come on the market, and it usually increases supply until June. So how do I know this? I go back to last March, right? And look at the March up. We're going up the mountain. March and April, right? Going up the mountain till June, right? Now go back to this month, February, up the mountain till June, peaked out, right? That's what happens every year. So now look at us now. So we're going February, we're going to March. Oh no, we're going down the mountain. So like, again, this is like a time where this should be up here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and what is it going to look like for the next 3 weeks and 4 weeks? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, we're in that dislocation right now, and buyers need to understand that they have much less inventory than is typical. And of that inventory, how many of those sellers are going to entertain that bid that you're going to put in down 20%? Like, buyers need to understand that, you know,
right.
If they
so there's no comps to compare it to, especially if you're financing right now. There's literally no comps to compare it to.
That's what like defines a dislocated marketplace. We have such a thinly volume traded marketplace that if you want to ask me like, where is the current deal? Buyers and sellers don't know where the deal is. They just know it's somewhere here and somewhere here, and brokers in the middle going, oh, what the hell I got to do to get these
right.
to go back together and get this deal done?
We've been here before. So yeah, this supply, is this also an indication that like, is some of this supply going straight into off market, or this is just right?
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what's going on. So if I go to off market now, right, it's going up. It's going up. Look at that big spike up right there. That usually doesn't happen. It usually goes down now, right there. See it? Now, if I go to my dashboard, okay, watch this, right? So I'm going to go April 1st to April 6th, and I'm going to go off market. How many?
I didn't see the numbers before. Probably about 200 to 300.
I'll say 2. There you go.
Yes.
So 56 new listings came on, 229 came off. Contract signed. All right, do the math. 229 came off. 53 contract signed. So 229 plus 53 is 232, is 282. Yeah. 282 came off, 56 came on. So there's a net loss of 200 and whatever it is, you know? 8,
which
28. It's a net loss. That's why supply is going down faster.
Yeah. So I was hearing, and this is like probably 2 weeks old now, but I think it was a report from Zillow that said they saw a loss of 50 to 70% of their listings, but the views, the website traffic went up. Now this is Zillow, obviously. I think each market is a little bit different. Like, we're not quite so heavy in Zillow. But people are still looking. So I think the message to buyers out there right now, and anybody who took theirs off the market but still has the technology and the people to get it done, if you're looking to buy, you know, it's really the broker's job to be contacting the agents to go after some of these, to call the listing agent to ask them, does your seller still want to sell? And perhaps getting deals done off market, right? Like, technically off market. It's not unheard of.
Well, they should at least look off market, and they should, you know, they should. I always look at the broker, the team, the searching part is a team effort, right? I love a team effort searching. It doesn't matter who finds it first. You know what I'm saying? If you find it 10 minutes before your other broker or an hour, it doesn't mean you're better and your broker's not doing their job. Your broker's going to earn his keep when he's guiding you and negotiating and he's trying to give you a pricing analysis and all the weird crap that's going to come up in the contract stage because we're in a weird dislocated market. That's when the services of your broker is going to really come in.
Yeah. But now I think even more so, like a lot of buyers are saying, oh, I'm not seeing what I want on the market, but there's all this stuff like under the rug that's kind of been pushed under there that will come out.
And some sellers are just gonna be like, you know what? I'm not interested in even because I don't want to deal with the bids down 20%. I'm not one of those sellers. Like that's the thing. A lot of sellers are looking to bide their time and they don't have to sell. And they probably see a whole financial wave of stimulus coming behind this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's going to ultimately push us to get us, all right, we know that we're all down. We know the market's dislocated, but when things are better, we're going to boost you right back up there. And you're gonna be right up there real quick, But
we could also see a surge of inventory go up. So
that's the question.
It's possible that 20% discount will be better than.
I don't think it's going to be like a switch. I just don't. I think it's going to come back in phases. I think what's going to happen is, and this is just my own theory. I have no basis I'm not an expert by any means in any of this stuff. It's just like Noah's opinion on this. But I mean, let's say they ease restrictions. Okay. So they ease restrictions hopefully sooner, right? Let's just say that's May 1st. Because I don't know how long that restriction goes on for.
Right.
The no showings order. Is it?
Well, we're technically right now we're deemed essential. But all non-essential and like stay at home is until the end of April.
Okay. So they ease those restrictions, right? Now I know we're talking about agents, but I'm talking about people living, consumers, and and other humans. You know what I'm saying? Not just professional real estate agents. Yeah,
because we as
other
agents,
human beings and people. How? I mean, so May 2nd. I mean, are you going to go outside and everything's exactly how it was before? Okay, are people going to still be wearing masks? Are people going to still be isolating? Are people going to still have a 6 feet, 10-foot social distancing thing going on? Is a lot of people going to still hunker down for another couple of weeks or a month until it kind of, so I think it's going to be one of those like kind of stages kind of thing. Like, and again, that brings up the whole sporting event thing. When the sporting events get turned on and the concert halls get turned on and the masses, those mass audiences now can get back and the planes are all starting to fly again. When does that happen? And that's when you already missed, you're not going to take advantage of any dislocation at that point. And that's when you're going to see the massive stimulus just jumpstart this economy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When does that happen? I don't know. Anyone knows. But I think like the process of getting back to normal as it was before is going to take. Like I think there's some damage there. And I think some people are going to just really be very cautious about themselves until this way past this kind of thing.
Yeah. But by then, maybe, I mean, the way I see it is if the buildings, at least in Manhattan, and getting back to brokers, at least in Manhattan, if the buildings start letting the brokers back in, even just a videographer, right? Like that could get more listings on. If at least a videographer can get in, because let's face it, not a lot. Like I don't even want to guess. But
you're talking about after restrictions are eased. You're talking.
Yes. Yeah. Right. But I would guess that now probably maybe 25% of listings have videos. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I mean, and look, we're gonna be where are we gonna be when we come out of this? Like, what's technology gonna look like? What's the norm gonna look like? Like you said, virtual co-op board meetings. I mean, Jesus Christ, Karen. Do we really have to go through this to actually bring up to co-op boards that they can have a Zoom meeting and just do it from the privacy of their home and all talk in one place, or even other types of meetings, board minutes review, why can't everything be just digital?
Exactly. None of this is rocket science. It's just about changing systems.
One board package that gets sent and shared to a virtual co-op board that's having meetings. Now, I guess there's privacy concerns there, but
there's technology. Board Packager, Element
plug the Board Packager, boardpackager.com.
Yeah.
I mean,
Element has it. Brown Harris for service. I mean, we as agents, we don't like them per se because they're not super user friendly, but they save us a ton of paper and they're efficient. So that's what I said. Like I almost feel a little bit like, I of course want to get out of this as soon as possible, but I feel a little bit like we haven't learned enough yet. of course I don't want more people dying, but like we as a community and as a nation and as a world, we have not learned enough yet. And I'm hoping that one of those things that we learn, and Ryan Serhant has said this, my coaches say it, like out of catastrophe like this comes innovation.
Yeah.
And there are so many tools. So I hope you've got your like thinking hat on here, because you are one of those guys who knows the coding, you know the coders. What is the missing link here? And I think exactly like you said, buyer sees apartment, the attorney gets the link to everything, they review it from the comfort of their office, we submit a digital board package, and they have a Zoom meeting, like within a matter of weeks rather than 3 to 4 months.
I mean, we just don't, we don't know where we're going to be and what kind of technology we're going to use at the end of this. Exactly right. I mean, this is at least opening the door. A lot of people that normally would not use Zoom is now realizing, oh, this is actually kind of cool and it's not so hard. And it's an interesting way of being productive while sitting at my home. I'm most productive when I'm at home on my computer talking to my engineering team and my product team.
Right.
When I have to go and commute in and go to you guys and go do meetings and classes, I'm not as productive.
I know. And how many people have you talked to so far? I mean, you've been on my office meetings. Now we're doing this. And like we schedule.
Everyone loves it. And not only that, but you could do panels. Like you could get together. This is what I think every broker should be doing. Every broker should be getting a lender and a attorney that they like to do business. I'm trying to get in the middle of my shadow here.
Right? I know,
the
right?
Lender and the attorney, lender and the attorney.
Are you in jail?
Yes.
I think your backdrop is not really accurate.
Get me out of here!
I'm gonna screenshot that later and we'll post it.
Every broker should get their lender and attorney. I know everyone has one they like to work with. For me, it's Jonathan Helfer and Dimitri Spuntoff from Wells Fargo. Like I just love Jonathan Helfer because he's responsive as hell. And he just makes deals happen, right? But everyone has their own. Get these guys to join you one night. Book it a week and a half in advance for like a half hour, 40 minutes, nothing crazy, at like 6 o'clock or 5:30, something like right before, when people, it's gonna be a time when they get a chance to work, but now they can kind of look at this. And get your clients and your social reach and your clients to go and talk with your attorneys and your lenders on how to do business in a virtual world.
Yeah. I'm actually working on some buyer seminars right now and seller seminars. And I mean, I just found this whole webinar add-on to Zoom, and you're my third person that I'm testing this with. And with each one, I'm getting better at it. So
yeah,
you know what? Yeah, the technology is absolutely there and I'm loving it. I mean, other than my green screen and too much light, it's great, right? As long as the Wi-Fi works, we're okay.
Exactly. But I mean, if you have buyers or you got sellers that are in this scenario right now, and they're dealing with it, this is a good way to connect one-on-one with them when you can't do it in person.
That is true.
I know you can get on the phone. I get that, but you could also go and let me just show you all of the listings we're competing with. And let me show you some of the ones that are in contract. Yeah. And I'm going to go call those ones in contract and see if I can get some color on where the deals are happening at, especially if it's in the last 2 weeks. These are the things that you need to do. Use Zoom and use your screen share and do the one-on-one and expect your buyers too. Too, manage their expectations.
Everybody. And the renters, I mean, what's going on there? Like,
because everyone's confused. Everybody's confused. In an illiquid, low volume market, which we're going to unfortunately be in until this passes, doesn't help anyone because we just don't have mass price discovery. We're going to have this. There's going to be an asterisk next to this, like come July, August, September, or whenever the data becomes available later on. There's going to be like an asterisk because it's going to be like a quick down. It's going to probably be down for a few months and then it's going to be a quick back up probably. Yeah.
Well, kind of like we went up when the mansion tax and the transfer taxes went up, right? We saw a quick spike up.
You want to see something about mansion
tax?
Yeah,
let's show them the numbers.
I'm looking at closings, right? Closings, 3 bedrooms plus. Where do you think the mansion tax was?
Well, I know where I can't tell.
Look, it's like the chart's giving you a middle finger or something.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's the mansion tax.
It's like the skyline of Manhattan, and that's like what would that be right now?
432 Park or something.
Yeah, 432 Park. That looks about right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but so like you could just clearly see like that was if people that say that this thing that doesn't affect the numbers, that affects the numbers.
Yeah.
You start having, a lot of high-end closings and a lot of large apartments closed to beat the mansion tax changes. It brings a lot of Q3 demand to Q2, and then Q2 gets spiked and it gets juiced, and Q3, doesn't have that oomph and it kind of deflates and then it equalizes later on. We're going to have the exact same thing in reverse kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there any?
Listen, it is what it is. There's a lot of one thing I could tell you is that the Fed did everything that they had to do. Like, I mean, anyone that thinks that the Fed is doing all this and they're killing our currency, I mean, there's another time to deal with that kind of stuff. Like, they did everything they had to do to prevent a Bear Stearns and a Lehman Brothers or another credit event. Like, think about what happened. We had this crazy global viral pandemic that caused a global shutdown. That in and of itself is just insane. We also had an oil price war between Russia and the Saudis that destroyed oil. That kills the energy sector and a lot of jobs and a lot of other ramifications that come out of that. So you had these two events at the same time. So now you had this unprecedented stimulus. And if there's one thing to take, is like, listen, you know, hopefully we have the track right now. We're on the right track in terms of the health response, right? We can question it later on, all the mistakes we made, and there's going to be case studies on that. Hopefully, the only thing that matters now is, are we doing it right now? Is it doing it right now going forward? If it's not, let's change it and let's fix it. So everything's right now. Like, that's all that matters. Forget about what happened 2 weeks ago, right? Because it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. So let's fix it now. And then you got the stimulus on top of it. So you got to keep all these things into account.
Yeah, there's great opportunity out there if you know how to kind of get around it, with whether it's the small business loans or taking advantage of the interest rates. Like, a banker of mine from the United Nations Federal Credit Union told me that he did more applications last month in March than he normally does in a total of 3 months. Like, all because of their refinances and you know, still people who want to buy, and him in particular, he works with people who generally need exceptions. So if like a Wells or a Chase or a Citi won't lend, then he works with those people too.
I bet you there's a lot of buyers out there that are watching this market. I bet you there are a ton of them. Yeah. And they want to buy. They want to, but they're just a little too nervous and things a little too uncertain, and they're just waiting for some type of level of certainty that this is over.
Yeah. I think investing right now, I don't know if I would invest in Manhattan personally, but in other markets, I mean, I'm communicating with brokers all over the country every single day. And I mean, I'm still hearing about bidding wars. In some states, they're still able to show, like, I don't remember what the state was today, but I was on a call. She goes, we're on day one. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. like call me in 4 weeks kind of thing. But there are still so many deals going on, and there are great opportunities for investing right now. I mean, I'm staying by the beach, and I'm like, maybe I'll go on Zillow and check out what's for sale around here. You know, like, now's the time to be diversifying our portfolio. I do think people obviously need to save and have that money for their primary residence, but if you have the extra assets and you want to diversify, you know, hopefully we will not see, and I don't think any of us is expecting this to happen, that the values will drop down and stay down, but you know, they should go up. And if you can buy now or at a lower point, if and when we get there, listen, you will be thanking yourself, clapping all the way to the bank, and you know, what is it, maybe 3 to 5 years, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were a buyer in early 2009. Exactly. If you were a buyer after September 11th, you know, if you were a buyer in these times, you made out quite well. It's just you got to have thick skin, and you're not. Look, I mean, when I was buying, I was a trader, so I had the thick skin. I was able to handle it, like the volatility I was able to handle, and I was looking 5 years down the road. I wasn't. If you're going to buy this thing to trade it in 2 years, then you know that's a different story. Yeah. But I mean, if you're buying for 5, 6, 7 years, you're buying a home, and it all works out. I'm just telling you, when you go and negotiate, don't expect every single seller to just be ready to hit a fire sale 20% off bid. That's the misconception I think buyers need to understand here, is that the sellers don't have to hit your bid. All right. They don't have, you may be right. The market may be down 20% right now, but that seller may not be in a position that they're forced to hit your bid.
Right. Especially since for the majority of them, we finally got them to a point where like they've already come down. Flashback to January, what we were discussing.
Yeah.
was, I mean, the largest gap was really the new development, right? Which was,
Yes.
I think you said it was at least a 20 to 30% gap between what they wanted and what they were getting.
It depends on the product and the price point. There were some new developments that in the East Village and the smaller scale ones, medium scale ones that didn't have that kind of hit.
Right. But we were finally starting to see deals happen because sellers came down to reality and buyers.
Look, you could see it. You could see it right here. And if I go to contract activity, right, I'm going to go 3 years. Okay. Like I like to use the 3 years. All right. I'm looking at this pink one right here. Right. So it started right here in November, then December, then look at January, right? January, and then look at February. So compared to the last 2 months, December, January, February was out. November was just right below, it was 16 below. So November is when we really just started to pick it up. November, December, January, February. That's where it carried into.
We will see where this takes us. But I so appreciate your time, and I don't know if anybody else has questions. We haven't gotten any questions. I think people will tune in a little later. But we did have quite a few attendees. So if you have any questions, let us know. I will leave Noah's information. I've got it all. I've tagged him in pretty much everything. So if you're an agent out there, definitely get in touch with Noah. If you don't know him, how could you not? Are you living under a rock? So I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing this Market Monday update.
Market Monday.
Me. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me, and stay safe, Karen.
Yes, you too. Bye.